Hi, my name is Dерън Grийнfiylд. I'm manager of Weimar Farm at Weimar Centre of Health and Education. Today we're going to talk about how to plant a tree by the method that has been used within the Adventist Church for about 120 years. This method is a method that actually stimulates the tree's growth, makes it healthier and produce a heavier crop. When you're looking to plant a tree and you're choosing a location, you want to look for a place that is sunny, that has sun virtually all day. You don't want to have a shady spot. Trees like lots of sun. So once you've located a place that you want to plant, then you want to gather together the materials that you're going to need. First of all, you want to choose a good, healthy tree from a nursery, usually a bare root tree. Some of them will come already potted. The first thing after you've chosen your tree, you're going to need some mycorrhizae fungi. But the mycorrhizae is really important for growing a healthy tree. Another thing you want, if you live in an area like in North America where there's gophers, you want to keep them away from the roots of the tree, especially when it's young. So you want some wire, some hardware mesh, about 5 feet, or Avarian wire. You can get that also from a farm supply or a Home Depot or somewhere like that. You just need about 5 feet and roll it up. It'll make about a 2-foot diameter or a little bit less than 2-foot diameter cage. And then you're going to want about 6 cubic feet of compost. You can either buy bagged compost, or you can, if you have your own, that will work, or you can have leaf mold and use that as well. The next thing you're going to need is about 3 cubic feet of stones, between 1 inch and 3 or 4 inches max. Then you want 1 bag of worm castings. You can usually buy that from a nursery, farm supply, some of them have them. And other than that, you're going to need a few tools as well. The tools that you'll need is a good shovel or spade for digging the hole, a long chisel point digging bar that is heavy, that you can chip away at hard rocks. That's if you have hard ground. If you don't need that. Usually they're about 70 inches long. A measuring tape, a 3-foot long stick that you can, or a pipe will work, that you can put the marks on. And then you want some pruning loppers and pruning shears. So those are the tools you're going to need when you plant this tree using this method. Once you've chosen the tree, then you want to, if it's a bare root tree, you want to heel it into the ground until you're ready to actually plant it. It will come from the nursery, usually wrapped in a bag with some wet sawdust around it, but if you're going to wait very long to get it in the ground, you want to first heel it into the ground, which means you dig a hole, you put some dirt over the roots and wet it so that it will stay healthy. You do this in the dormant season, usually in the winter time. Early spring can sometimes be all right, but you want to watch out for the time when the tree is coming alive. It becomes more of a shock to it when it goes into the ground. So once you've got your bare root tree and you've safely put it in the ground there to wait until the hole is prepared, you want to then get a stick. I like using a stick about 3 foot long, and I get a measuring tape and I put a mark at 6 inches, and then at 10 inches, and then at 16 inches. That becomes a stick that I use while I'm measuring. If you have a measuring tape, you can use that, but when you've got dirt and using a measuring tape, it's not always the easiest to use, and you make your measuring tape all dirty. So with a stick, you can use that, and it doesn't matter about it getting soiled. So with the stick, it's 3 foot long. That's the diameter of the hole that you're going to dig. And it is also the depth of the hole as well. So I take the stick, I place it on the ground one way, and I put I dig the shovel in on one side of it and the shovel in on the other, and then I put it perpendicular to that, and I dig in either side of the stick there, and then I dig in all the way around the diameter of the size of the hole that I want to dig. Then I come on the inside of that, and I dig like a trench all the way around the inside of that, and then dig out the center part. And once you've done that, then you can do the same thing around the outside of the hole and continue to dig layer by layer until you get right to the bottom at 3 foot. It's a deep hole, it takes a while. Sometimes you'll come across rocks, And so it's handy to have like a long bar, heavy bar that has like a chisel. And if you find a rocky hard place, you can use that to kind of chip away and chisel the hard rock out of the way and then continue down to the bottom of the hole. It doesn't matter what kind of soil you have on your property. If it's bad soil like we've got on one part of our farm, the trees were planted the Ellen White method there, and they actually took off and did beautifully, and they're healthy. On the other part of the farm where we have better soil, the trees were planted the conventional way, and if you compare the two, the Ellen White method ones are much healthier than the other ones, and even though the soil is poorer. So by digging this hole down to 3 feet, you're going to put lots of good nutrients in there for the tree. And so we start off at the bottom of the hole and we put 6 inches of topsoil. And so with your stick in the hole, the first mark is 6 inches. So I like to get the shovel and then just chisel a little mark on the side of the hole at 6 inches, and then another mark at the 4 inches above that, which is 10 inches, and then another mark at 16 inches. So I chisel those on the side of the hole, then I don't need the stick anymore. And so you fill in the bottom up to the first mark with topsoil, and then I like to walk around on that a little bit. You don't want to jump on it and really compact it, but you want to just compress it a little bit so that you reduce the amount of sinkage that the hole will have over the next 6 months or so, or a year. So you fill that with topsoil, walk around on it. If it goes below the mark, which it probably will, then top it up to that mark. And then you want to take stones, and you want to put about 3 or 4 inches of stones, usually between 1 inch and 4 inches in size, not too big, and put that layer in there, and then put another layer of 6 inches of topsoil above that, which will bring you up to the top mark, which is the 16-inch mark. Once you've put that layer in, then you want to take some worm castings if you can find them. I like to put maybe a couple of shovelfuls of worm castings there and then mix it in. And then from there you get some compost and put about 2 inches of compost on. You can mix it in or you can just put it in layers. It's okay either way. And then you start filling in probably about another 4 inches of soil mixed with a couple inches of compost and minerals. You mix them together, and you can add the worm castings as well. I like to use a whole bag of worm castings in a hole that I plant a tree. And so mix that together in layers, but once you get to that 4-inch layer above the topsoil, then you take the cage that is made to keep the gophers out from the roots of the tree, and you sit that in the hole, and you want it to be 4 to 6 inches above the ground level. So place that in the hole, and if it's too low, then you need to fill it up. So you fill it up till it is that height above the top of the ground, and then you want to start filling in the center of that cage. Not on the outside. If you put on the outside, it wants to collapse that cage. And the cage is made from hardware mesh or Avarian wire that's used for bird aviaries. Something like that has a very small diameter hole in it to stop the gophers from getting in. So you start layering it in about 8 or 10 inches inside that round cage. And then you will start filling around the outside. So do 6 or 8 inches inside and then on the outside. And when you get within about a foot from the top, then you want to get your bare root tree, bring it and place it in the top of the hole. And you want the graft to be above the ground level by about 4 to 6 inches, probably about 6 inches, because you will still get a little bit of sinkage, and you want that graft to be above the ground, not covered by dirt or buried where it can actually get diseased. So once you've done that, what I do then is take some water and put that on the roots of the tree, and take some mycorrhizae fungi and put that on the roots. That is a fungi that will actually cause the, it's like an extension to the roots. It gives them actually 100 to 1,000 times greater capacity to take up nutrients, and so it's an amazing thing that God created to assist the tree to grow, and it'll be much healthier and will actually yield better because of the fungi. So you put that on and then continue to fill your hole until you get to the top layer, top level, at the ground level, and then walk around it again so that you let it compact a little bit, and then just fill it up till you're level with the ground. If you're on a slope, what I like to do is take the topsoil that I've taken out of the hole when I've dug it and place it on the uphill side of the hole, and take the subsoil and place that on the lower side of the hole. And so when you get to the probably about halfway mark of that hole on the slope, that's probably about deep enough. And then the subsoil, you kind of put that around the outside of the hole, and you try to level the ground to about 5 foot in diameter around the tree. If you can level that, that assists when you water the tree, that the water, instead of running off down the slope, it will sit there and soak into the roots. So you level it to 5 foot diameter and take soil and make about a 4 to 6 inch high berm around the outside, or some people call it a dike, around the outside, so that when you water it, the water will sit there and actually just soak down to the roots. So once you've done that, then you can take whatever leftover compost you've got and then spread that. It's good to put about an inch or inch and a half of that on the top, on the soil around the tree. And probably before you do that, you can pour the water, at least 5 to 10 gallons of water, right at the base of the tree where the trunk is. Pour it there so it will just sink down into the root zone, and then cover it up with the compost. Once you've done that, one thing I neglected to tell you was that the graft should face north. You want the graft to be in the shade, and it stops it from drying out, and it helps it to stay healthy. So once you've got the tree in the ground, it's planted and it's firm, then you're going to set about pruning it. And typically, depending on your height of course, you want to prune it, cut it off about waist height. But first look at the tree and find, you want 4 branches that are good, healthy, look like vigorous, strong branches on there that you can leave. So cut it off just above, maybe 3 or 4 inches above where those branches come off. And then every other branch on there, you just trim it off, you prune it off to the surface of the trunk below that. And once you've done that, the tree is ready to grow. And you'll be amazed at how come spring, when it warms up to 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, that tree is going to come to life and start putting on leaves, and you'll be excited to wait for that to grow. Now when it grows, you want to, some of them actually, like the Asian pears that we planted this year, immediately they started to flower, and they will set fruit even a few months after they've been planted. You want to take those little fruit sets, or even the flowers, break them off. Don't let it set fruit on the first year, because what you want it to do is put down a really good, strong root system before it fruits. Now the second year, you can let it grow some fruit and harvest that, but the first year, let it put its roots down. So that's pretty much it for planting the tree. I just want to encourage you, it's a lot of work to do, but if you take your time and enjoy digging the hole, you'll feel good from the exercise afterwards, and the little effort that you put into planting this way now will reap a great reward in about 3 to 4 years. You'll have an abundance of fruit. In fact, this tree will outproduce a tree planted the normal method. It'll be way healthier. It will last for a lot more years, and you will be well rewarded for the effort. For whatever's worth doing is worth putting the effort into.